Hey everyone, glad to have you along. We are going to be talking about this Pisces new moon that is actually the fifth new moon at the 12-degree mark of a sign. So this moon is going to land at 12 degrees 7 minutes of Pisces on March 2nd. So that is going to arrive in the early morning, 10:35 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 9:35 a.m. Pacific Time. It's 11:35 a.m. Central Standard Time and 12:35 p.m. in the Eastern Standard Time. So this moon is rising now to the beginning of the month because we are preparing for the moon to flip over. And that's what I call it, that the moon is flipping over. And so the new moons generally bring a fresh new wave of energy into our environments and into our psychic field. So this is the perfect time to plant the seeds of this energy in this really spiritual sign of Pisces. So it's a very inspirational, creative, and really powerful energy of awareness, and it will and can produce enlightenment. So, almost like you were sitting in the dark and then all of a sudden you see the light. Yeah, you feel it, you know for certain that this is what's going on. So Pisces is a dual sign. It's got two sides to it. And Pisces is a sign of withdrawing. It is assigned to reflect, to take stock of your energy. What is it that you need? What is it that you need to get rid of? And sometimes we do this self-sabotaging thing in Pisces, where we just go, you know what, that's not working for me. And we make these really hasty decisions and we cut the cords. And we unravel everything that we began. And so this can be detrimental to some degree, but it can be a positive thing because it breaks those old cords away. So this is a real sign that likes to cleanse and heal. So we're in the energy of Imbolc, and this is a really good month to, do some smudging, get your selenite out, do some auric clearing. Maybe you want to begin some bathing with salt, like the ocean. And this is a real time, perhaps, of changing your diet, purifying the inside as well as the outside. And really connecting with what you believe in and what you see as your truth, however that reflects within your life. And so the sign binds us to these beliefs, and it's not so much about morals or values. It's more about that higher power and the connection to that higher power. So, God, Allah, the source, universal energy, or the goddesses as well, or the feminine within God. So it's complicated. It's very sensitive sign. It's very empathic and compassionate, and it wants to bear witness. It wants to pass the information on to somebody once it has achieved it. And so it's very devotional and it's very committed. It's inspiring and creative. This is where we can make magic, that where we can make miracles happen. And it's it comes directly from the energy of the other side or the spirit world. So angelic and very moving. It can move you to tears. And it is really inspirational. The savior, the healer, the guide, the spiritual guide. So that is the positive side of the fish, this ability to heal and cleanse and perform miracles. And the other side of the fish is not like that. It is the part of that says that there is suffering, there is pain, there is addictions, there's physical and mental illnesses, there's confusion and suffering. And there is struggle and deception and scamming and there is blurred boundaries of reality. And so this is where, we get this real commitment with some of the great masters, like Buddha or Jesus, for example, that even though they had this wonderful spiritual connection to the source and the ability, they also endured suffering and pain because they needed to know what it was like in order to assist others. So out of the suffering and pain comes great healing, hope, belief, and a soothing of the soul and the spirit. So, you can move heaven and earth once you realize that you can conquer your power. So Pisces is a very powerful energy. This is the last sign of the zodiac. So it brings us to a point of endings, and it brings us to a point of finishing up and realigning our energies with the new birth that is coming at the beginning of the astrological year at the spring equinox. So this is a very powerful moon for meditation, for creativity, music, the arts, and finding your soul center, finding out where you fit in the whole scheme of things. And new awarenesses can begin to come about. So this is increased consciousness. And increased awareness. If we can rise up in our minds and open our minds and hearts enough to reach and bridge that threshold, that ceiling, to break through that into a different realm and into a different spirituality. And so many moments of enlightenment or spiritual awareness can come upon you. And it allows you to see things differently. What is especially noticeable about this new moon, it's right beside Jupiter. And so that always gives it a bigger punch, always heightens the energy of this new moon, and it expands the nature. So we have a very expansive energy to increase our power to enlightenment, to breach the threshold, the doors, the ceilings of different dimensions, different spiritual awarenesses. And we can, if we are in tune, to actually connect with your spirit guides or spirit animals. So this is a real new wave of energy that is unfolding. And this is the beginning of it as we begin to move and the waves begin to build higher as we move into April. So this is going to be a massive wave of energy. And so there's this mantra, this conversation in some ways. In some ways, it's just telepathic. People finding their spiritual journey, people finding their path. So this is a new awareness, a new consciousness that is coming in towards us. And, you know, it could be the following of the great masters, gurus, the old practices of religion, or it could simply be the beginning of a new belief system, a new wave of connection to the source or to energy. So quantum physics plays a role here in this to some degree. You know, telepathy, psychic, mediums, all of those energies that we have denied for a great many centuries that now are starting to emerge extremely quite strongly. And so this promotes, you know, when you open those chakra systems and when you begin to breach that spiritual level, you actually open up a great deal of joy, enthusiasm, generosity, compassion. Your spirits begin to lift. And it's actually quite amazing. It's like a wave of energy that you know is secret that nobody else knows, but you want to share that information. This is a very lucky connection between Jupiter and this new moon. It increases popularity, it's sympathetic, it's concerned for the plight and the struggles of other people less fortunate than ourselves. With the moon here, there is social welfare of people, and this is your dreams. What are you dreaming? What are you manifesting? What do you want to see materialize in your life? So these are big dreams, huge dreams. So this also is, so keep a journal by your bed if you've been dreaming a lot, or if you're dreaming in real life and you're looking to attain a goal or a new direction. This is about predictions, prophets, and prophecy. So this is, of course, exaggerated with Jupiter there. And we can get swept away into believing something that not necessarily is all it's cracked up to be. So we have to be cautious of that. But it also exaggerates the other side of the fish, the pain, the suffering, the discomfort, and the shared experiences that we share as a people across the globe and in humanity. So spiritual events are taking place, and the angels definitely are with us with this moon. And we have a heightened awareness of the other side, I guess you could say, you know, the ghosts and clearings and psychicness and psychic energy, and to ability to transverse and work with energy and light energy to heal regardless of the distance between you. So this brings a bridge across that mighty ocean, and we have the ability to look beyond and see beyond. And so water issues are going to be a big deal here with Jupiter and this new moon. And we're going to see that heading into this new moon. I think already there was a pretty wild, wet storm in England, and Australia, I believe, just had flash floodings. The water is rising because we're heading into April and Jupiter is right there. So we have rising water issues and possible flooding in various areas. And so Jupiter is very close to its conjunction to Neptune that's going to happen on April 12th. So as we move through March, there could be increased precipitation, definitely increased ocean activities, and perhaps problems with those waters. And then we have the water of just, you know, our basic drinking water, the rivers, the wells, and where we get our water from. And so that needs to be addressed as well. This is a very inspirational moon. It's very imaginative. It's got a lot of ideas. It, in the arts is enhanced your ability to be metaphysical, new religions rising, new people to follow. It's a very sensitive, it's very emotional and empathic. And so we have to be aware that we don't merge our energy too strongly with other people's, lest we lose ourselves in their energy. So make sure that you keep your identification with you, or your sense of self with you, so you don't fall into the energy of somebody else and lose your own direction. It's not that you can't help them. Of course you can. But you have to really stand outside of it. Don't take things personally with this moon, because it's very sensitive and it's going to hit you right in the gut. And you're going to interpret things that perhaps are not exactly how they actually are. So there's a great deal of psychic energy flooding in. And so that can be a problem. There is unconditional love here, peace, and a wave of spirituality that's emerging. So we have this configuration in this new moon chart that is a bowl. So all the planets are stacked into a very concentrated area of the 360-degree chart. And so it's really condensed. And at the rim of the bowl, is the north node in Taurus and the south node in Scorpio. And those two form 180 degrees apart. So they form the flat part of this bowl. And so this indicates that, especially going in with this new moon, this is a very concentrated, focused energy that has a specific goal or a specific direction that it wants to accomplish. And it's really concentrated attention. And so we have to be careful of it because of that. And that outer financial zodiac signs of Taurus and Scorpio indicate definitely that we are in with money and financial issues. So Jupiter here with this new moon and this tight energy that's going on can certainly increase things like inflation, oil prices, gas prices, pharmaceutical, drug supplies. And we can get this real rising of expenses that are happening, unbelievable to some extent. So the good thing about this chart is it's really rather creative. So it's got quite a few quintiles in it, 72 degrees. And what's interesting about that is that indicates that there are solutions to the problems through creativity, thinking out of the box, thinking in a different perspective than normal. And so there's a lot of artistic energy going on here. So the closest aspect that is occurring with this new moon really is Uranus. And Uranus has been really hammering home its point and has been active in several of the new moon and full moon charts. And this is no exception. He is stepping forward and he is definitely making himself known. And so this sextile that Uranus is creating between the new moon and himself is really inspirational to some degree. Uranus is a really high-minded energy. It is the higher octave of Mercury. It is genius in many ways, but it is often the outcast. It is often different than the norm or different than everybody else. And so this is a real cry for the mantra that has been going around of freedom. And this sextile to this new moon, freedom can be experienced in many different ways. Freedom can be experienced through meditation, astral travel, and escaping from the body. And freedom can be expressed in just the feeling of being liberated just in your own small space. And so this is a very inspirational, spontaneous energy that emerges with this full moon. Like suddenly you become aware of something, some sort of inspiration, like the muses have sat on your shoulders and gave you the dialogue to a great book. And you begin to write. It's about the truth. It's about idealisms and breakthroughs and just spontaneity, inspiration. So it's going to bring a great wave of opportunity and new information, I think, coming to light. And pay attention to your dreams again, because your dreams can give you the answers to your questions through this sextile. And it doesn't have to be necessarily that you're in a group of people and you're all marching for the same purpose. This is going to be very contagious in the respect that I want to break away and I want to practice something different. Perhaps I want to leave my job. I just want to do what I love. I wanted to do. And so you could see a lot of that, not necessarily protests or marching in the streets or rebellion. However, there is going to be that as well. But Uranus represents the underdog. And underneath the surface, because Pisces is secretive, there's a great deal of support that's rising for the underdog, for those less privileged, for those who are held captive in some way that shouldn't be, that they should be free. And so this underdog energy can really be playing in. So it's not just perhaps the truckers that have expressed their need for freedom and the reduction of mandates. It can be the Ukraine and the people of the Ukraine who are fighting for their autonomy, and they are the underdog against the power of Russia. And so it's not, and the support that they get through this sextile, this wave of compassion and sympathy and support, and feeling for them, because how do you fight against something that large? So this is powerful in many ways because it is seeking to give somebody their own identity and their own sovereignty and their own liberation. So Uranus seeks to be authentic, original, but it's different. It wants to be itself. It doesn't want to be. So new movements doesn't want to be what everybody expects it to be. So the movement of freedom can be expressed in many different ways and with many different people, and what that expression is to you as an individual. So this is going to spring up new movements, new support systems, new meditation groups, new healers, new artistic waves of expression from various groups, maybe movie stars, musicians, and other people. There's going to be a resistance towards those who do not feel compassionate towards somebody's plight and their suffering. So then the bowl, it's almost like we got a bowl of beautiful rice over here, and on the other side of the bowl we have like a chunk of something really ugly that we have to contend with. And is it ugly? Who knows? But in this bowl of mishmash, we have Venus, Mars, and Pluto all smashed together. And so Venus has been in slow motion, and she's going to do this really unique thing by connecting with Mars, really for quite a long time together. They're kind of pairing up, and she is sitting at 26 degrees, almost 27 degrees, 26 degrees, 59 minutes. So she's like bang on 27. But what's interesting about that is she stationed retrograde on December 19th, exactly, almost at that same degree, 26. So this is a very sensitive point for her. This is where she went through her cathartic transformation, and she emerged in January as the warrior. So she's pretty strong here in Capricorn. Both her and Mars are like joined at the head. They're hand in hand. And so Mars is at 27 degrees of Capricorn. And according to William Lilly, this is the strongest position he can hold in his exaltation. So this is powerful. He is in a position of his greatest strength, his courage. He is a hero. He is a risk taker. He knows exactly what he's doing and when he needs to do it. He has great powers of strategy here. And we all know that Mars is, of course, the warrior, and he does represent action to be taken. Venus is softening that edge a little bit, so it's not straight out, I'm going to punch you in the face. It's a slow, steady, manipulative in many ways, strategic plan. And so if I didn't know better, I would think that President Putin almost had an astrologer with him when he decided to launch his invasion, I guess, of the Ukraine, because strategically, this would most likely be the perfect time. Venus indicates that whatever action is taken here, there is the financial backing or the support. The people are in support. So this new moon, I feel, is almost like split in half. There's this going on over there, and then there's this going on over here. And the duality of the Pisces sign is kind of represented. So both of these planets and Pluto are trining the North Node and sextiling the South Node. And so for Venus, this allows her diplomacy. She's in Capricorn. She can handle herself very well in social situations. She has a concise, direct purpose. She has great power and influence, and she is directing all of this energy to the future. And that is Taurus values. What we need, our resources, our security, our safety. And is she working in the best interest? Because if you look at the new moon, it could seem like everybody's got their heads in the clouds and nobody's actually paying attention to what is happening here. We're under some illusion. And so we can really be swept away in some ways if we're not paying attention to what is happening. So Uranus has been involved quite a bit here. So there is some who are awakened, I guess you could say. And there are some who simply feel that they are awakened to the real reality of what is happening. And that is their truth, that they are awakened. So there's a great influence of power here that's in play. And it's interesting because 27 degrees and this new moon is going to plug in to the full moon at 27 degrees that happened, I believe, in November or December. And so it's almost like it was already beginning to be the full moon in October, on October 20th. So it almost is squaring that full moon, whatever, if you can think back and think of what was happening then. So this is an involvement of aggressive action, strategic action. They've got the financial backing and the support, the relationships to back them. And they are proceeding forward with whatever changes, transformation, and that needs to take place in perhaps government, business. And so this is a very powerful stance of position. It's a very powerful connection to taking control and seizing control. So this is happening, of course, in a couple places. One of them is the Ukraine and Russia. And the other is happening for now, because we're going to see more of this, but the other is happening in Canada. So in Canada, the Prime Minister, who represents to some extent Mars in Capricorn, a man who is taking action, and Venus, his financial minister, and I think his close associate, vice president or vice prime minister, have really joined together. Mars and Venus have come together. And there are power plays happening here. There are control issues. There is an interest of some kind that is taking place to regenerate, purge, and transform in order to move forward, kind of like throwing out the garbage. And so it's interesting that they have enacted the Emergency Act of Canada, which is something that, of course, is only for the purpose of a crisis. And so many people feel that they have overreached or overstepped their power in doing so. So they are the rulers of the North Node and the South Node through a trine and a sextile, and then they're the rulers. So they're making very good aspects to the North Node and the South Node. And it's almost like some of these measures that they're doing are for some purpose in the future, a transformation or a change that is taking place. And that Taurus represents the banking system. And so we have this energy that's really plugging in to the banking system with ease. So they are seizing people's bank accounts and freezing funds to prevent people from living and making a livelihood for themselves and seizing their possessions. And then you have the sextile that goes to the south node, almost like somebody is guiding them, or there's experience or something going on here from the past, which is really energizing. This is a really tense, edgy conjunction that really a conjunction brings about, like a new moon, like this new moon, a new wave, the plants are beginning to, the seeds are beginning to be planted for something down the road in the future. So this definitely is going to affect the banking system, the economy, and taxations, control, power energy. So, dominating power energy. It's creating boundaries, limitations, and it's really energizing the whole thing, the whole energy that's happening there. So we do need to be on the lookout, especially on a personal level, if somebody's trying to control you, dominate you, or create really strong boundaries around what you're doing. So this could apply to your personal relationships. The ruler of this dynamic conjunction is Saturn, now in Aquarius. And so, I almost feel like this is a bigger than what we see. And I really don't want to exaggerate things that, global control and stuff like that. But Aquarius is a global energy, and it is a humanitarian energy. And Saturn, it's almost like whatever's happening in this power bowl on that side is trying to harness and create rules and control. Mercury is right beside Saturn. So this is propaganda, media information that is very controlled, strategically controlling of the free press, gag orders, limitations of information, media suppression, and that kind of stuff is happening. What's interesting about it is when you get Mercury and Saturn in Aquarius, you get these people popping up who just start their own media press. And so we start to get these other people who are coming in that are going, the truth needs to come out. So I'm going to tell people what the truth is. And actually, with this combination, they're being really effective in it. Whether they're trained in journalism or not, they're trying to express the other side of the story if there is limitations, boundaries, gags, and misinformation or controlled information coming from the media. So just to let you know that if you want to become a journalist and get out there. So Achernar is the fixed star that's pretty close. It's almost sitting right on top of Jupiter. And so this is a white star in the mouth of the river, I think at the end of the river. So it produces success, and especially in public office. So if you remember, I was talking about that Leo moon, and I was saying, people may rise to prominent positions, and some people may actually do that. This is religious beliefs, faith, access to other realms. And, in the mansions of the moon, so not the Arabic moon mansions, but just the mansions of the moon, this new moon lands in the 27th mansion. These can bring elections out in prominent properties, right? So it's good for planting, it's good for business, marriage, but it's really bad for travel, enjoyment. It's not so great if you're borrowing money or loans. So there's two faces, just like the two fishes. So some people are really going to capitalize on this new moon, of course, because Jupiter's right there. And they are really going to produce big. And then on the other side, there are some who are really going to encounter some deep losses and uh, deep crevices there. So do be cautious with that because we do have connection to finances here. So if you are looking to practice spiritual practices, this is a wonderful full moon or new moon to begin the practice of connecting to spirit, maybe doing meditation, maybe exploring astral travel, guided meditations. Maybe you are looking also to do self-healing through the practices of Reiki or some other modality. So it's a great time also to counsel, to seek out counseling, and to work through your own healing practices, your own center of self. So if you are looking to do any form of the craft or paganism or pagan practices or spells, this is a really good time to create a talisman to increase your business practices or to increase merchandise or sales. It's a good time to attract profitability or money towards you. Or if you're looking to increase a harvest or gain something, this is a wonderful time to do this. It's also a really good time to maybe create a talisman or some sort of spell to aid you in healing if you're ill or impeded somehow physically. It's not really a good time to work. It is a good time to work if you're really revengeful against somebody, because there is the light and the dark. And although I don't do these things, I try to do other things to prevent that, like such as protection spells versus trying to create some sort of negative energy against somebody. However, some people do and will, and this is a good moon for those revenge, destroying enemies. If you're in prison or imprisoned somehow, this is a really good moon. So if you're in or locked into some sort of human trafficking thing, this is a good time to do spells for that. It also hastens messages. So this also indicates that information flies really quite quickly. And so that is this new moon in Pisces. It's pretty big, it's pretty massive, even though it's contained in this really small area and it's really concentrated energy. So I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you want more information, you can contact me anytime at Spiritual Journey on Facebook. And my name is Colleen Jorgensen. So you can reach out for a reading or anything like that at any time you want to. So have a great day. I will see you later in the month to talk about that full moon in Virgo. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye.